Today's video, we're going to be digging up another Friday the 13th figure from the folks over at NECA Toys. This is the Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning, Dream Sequence, Jason Voorhees. Young Tommy Jarvis has escaped from Crystal Lake, but he's still haunted by the gruesome events that happened there. When gory murders start happening at the secluded halfway house for troubled teens where he now lives, it seems like his nightmarish nemesis Jason Voorhees is back for more sadistic slaughters. Has Jason returned from the grave? Let's go ahead and figure out how tall Jason Voorhees stands. I would also like to add a little bit of an apology as to why it took me so long to have a look at this figure. Chalk it up to Canadian comic stores not getting him right away. The height on Jason Voorhees, he stands at 7.5 inches, or in centimeters, you would be looking at a figure that stands 19.1 centimeters in height. For some scale comparisons, we'll just move over Dream Sequence Jason and bring in probably what you could guess as the immediate carbon copy clone that the figure here obviously is based from. Yes, it seems as if they've taken the initial mold of Part 4 Jason from a final chapter and simply cloned it to this one right here, which is perfectly fine. I would not necessarily expect them to give us a brand new mold simply just because we're getting a figure based on a Jason that really doesn't appear in Part 5 other than in Tommy Jarvis's head. So with that, I don't mind that they would not have given us a brand new mold for it. Although it is laughable, this Dream Sequence Jason has one of the most awkwardly walking stances that he has in all the Friday the 13th movies. If you ever go back and watch the Dream Sequence, he walks as if he's got like a coat hanger in his shirt. But still, nonetheless, it's the exact same figure basically from the head to the bottom of his feet. The only thing that's obviously different is the head sculpts, which we will look at more involved when we have a look, of course, at this figure. Now, I've already done a review of the Part 4 Jason, not a whole lot to cover off on there, other than just to tell you it's the exact same mold. Now, really, for a figure that was in the movie for such a short period of time, NECA did give you a fair bit to compliment for the fact that this is essentially a reused mold. One of which being the Jason Voorhees very crude-looking tombstone that is at the beginning in that dream sequence. I do like the fact that they would have included this, as crude as it may be. You can see how very loosely it was put together with some boards and nailed portions on the back there of the tombstone. It's been planted inside a base there of a dirt bottom, and it does look good. I mean, they've done a good job of painting that in different browns to make that actually look like there's light hitting onto it. Appreciate the fact that we get ourselves a tombstone. I think this is now the third tombstone that we've gotten with an Ultimate Jason. Gets himself included an axe, which is heavily soaked with blood, both on the top and the bottom of the axe head. The handle itself doesn't have any blood whatsoever, but I appreciate for the fact that they would have doused the blood as much as they did on the axe. This will play a little bit more into the figure that we'll look at on the figure's head sculpt that we'll look at likely last. He also comes included with the split fingers, which I think is the one accessory I don't even think would necessarily need to come with Jason. I appreciate for the fact that it does come with Jason, but I don't feel like it really is necessary. Certainly it does not warrant this scene the character in which Dream Sequence Jason is taken from. Appreciate for the fact that he does come included with it, but I don't really think it was all that necessary. At least to the credit of the hand, I like that the blood that they used for it is a slightly more darker shade of blood. But there, he comes included with that. Also comes included with a machete, which is likely going to be what I'm displaying the figure with. Very clean. Pulls this out and proceeds to walk his way over to a hidden, or slightly believed to be hidden, Tommy Jarvis in his raincoat. Jason walks over very awkwardly. Almost doesn't even look like he's got any musculature in his legs. He's just weird. Anyways, the machete is very clean. There's no blood on it whatsoever. Now, you could chalk it up for the fact that the rain is hitting it as Jason's making his way over. Tra-la-la-la-la. And that would explain why there's no blood on it. Jason also comes included with the pick that gets lunged into the side of one of the would-be grave robbers, if you will, and it gets stuck into the side of his neck. Again, I appreciate for the fact that NECA would have taken the time and sculpted and made this into plastic and included it with the figure. Then we move on to all of this stuff here, and it's a fair bit of stuff to come included. He comes with these various different heads. Now, I guess if you take it from sequence, technically this head sculpt will be popped off first. We'll look at this one, and then we'll kind of go through all of them. Now, the interesting about the head sculpts is that the hockey masks are already molded in place. You can't take them off. They're molded. So I guess that is, I mean, there's no real workaround to that. If you look at the other head sculpts, they're not something that would look identical to this one anyway. So it's not simply a case where you could have argued, well, why didn't they just include hockey masks that you could have removed and put back in place? Well, because the head sculpts are all different from one another as well. So essentially, we've got like Jason who's lying inside of his coffin. There you go, his casket, if you will. And he's got the worms that are crawling in and around his eye area. Gruesome. It would have been neat also if they had included a little wooden casket that we could have had the figure packaged inside of with. I am, however, thinking of one thing. Hold on one second. Sprinting quickly over to my collection, I grabbed this. Now, this is the casket, the crate that would have came included with the 6 Faces of Madness. I think it was Billy the Kid. I'm going to go ahead and just take this guy off. He really isn't supposed to come out. I just forced him out. And I knew right off the bat it was going to be way too small for Jason. However, I suppose what you could always do is if you wanted to display Jason, you could have this sort of sitting on the side. And now Jason emerging himself from the casket here. So sort of a makeshift, if not the correct size, of course, but something that you could probably likely use. Now, quickly, everybody is, speaking of dashing, they're probably dashing their way over to eBay to see if they could find a Billy the Kid from McFarlane Toys. Probably makes use of the same sort of idea that I had here. You probably, by the way, could find one fairly inexpensively, so maybe that is how I'm going to display the figure. I'll just get one of these, or maybe I'll sort of prop it up as if Jason had come out of it. It's a shame it is a little on the small side. I guess one way maybe you could have, let's see if I can get Jason to sit up in it. Well, yeah, actually, I mean, I guess I could do it something like this. I mean, no one needs to necessarily know that the casket isn't long enough. That might be one simple fix. Just throwing out an idea for you guys. Even though it's not technically made by NECA. Yet, so far it isn't. Maybe NECA might give us some more accessory pieces, but we'll just kind of put that to the side for the time being. Lost my train of thought. Okay, so let's have a look at his head sculpt once again. I know we sort of started talking a little bit about it. The worms they've added to the face is really nice. I like that. Again, I don't think this is something that could have easily been done with a swap out of mask. I guess the closest one is the next one we'll look at, is this one here. Theoretically, the head sculpts are similar enough that they could take the masks off. Now, one problem with rapidly, continuingly taking off the masks do eventually, I find, has, like, even if we look at part 4's Jason, the strap never seems to sit properly again. I would welcome the idea of having permanently placed hockey masks and then just giving us a variation that doesn't have it on it, as personally as something that maybe NECA could do moving forward. So then we have these two variations of masks which are similar to one another. In fact, actually, the placement of paint is similar in placement around the breathing holes there, almost identical to one another. So this is him in the casket. Then he dispenses justice to the grave robbers, sits up, and then by this point, of course, the worms are now being washed off of his face. So we'll go ahead and just pop this head sculpt off and replace it with the one that I initially started with. Now there's a couple of different ways that you can go about doing this. I may likely display Jason like this. I may likely also display Jason using an accessory that really wasn't intended for him in the first place, but yet nonetheless, ideas start popping into my head. But I do like this head sculpt, and I do like that going with the rest of his body. Being that they've given him a wet, slick coat of paint, or more so a sheen, he definitely has that look that he's always wet. His legs are soaked, his top is soaked, and again, I think that fits better with this particular head sculpt. Not really a whole lot to talk about with his torso and his legs. This is all things that we've already covered basis on. It's interesting, though, that his boots, for whatever wet coverings his outfit gets, both the pants and the top, his shoes still stay relatively dry. It would have been nice if they'd added some caked mud or something, because obviously Jason is sludging his way through the mud and the wet soil. It really would have made sense that they would have added something to the feet, because the feet look bone dry. And there's the back of the figure. Again, nothing really new to report here. This is all a overlaid shirt. You can feel like the torso is sitting inside of that. It's got what looks to be like a little bit of discoloration here, maybe a little bit of blood that has come off from his recent kills. But other than that, he's, like I said, it's just basically this figure, just with a darker, like a slick sheen that's been added over top of it. We'll look at this head sculpt next. This isn't technically something that makes any appearance in the movie whatsoever. However, it does make appearance in something that predates, I suppose, the movie, and that is the poster. Let me just get this in place. I vividly remember seeing this poster in a movie store, and I thought to myself, even though I wasn't too familiar with Jason at the time, it doesn't look like Jason. Why are they using a hockey mask that doesn't look like Jason? Which led many to speculate, oh, is this the new design for Jason's mask? Well, it really wasn't. We still got the same tried and true Jason mask that we had always gotten. It's curious as to why they went this route, other than just to throw off, fans of the franchise to maybe start guessing, well, what's going on here, that this is a new beginning and we've got a new mask. Now the mask, much like this one, isn't removable. It's molded in place. As try as you might to take it off, you're going to be trying all day, my friends, or you're probably going to just break off the mask here. I probably would find myself entertaining the idea of getting more than one of these. Yeah, it's the story of my life when it comes to NECA stuff, just so I could display him with this look. I mean, enough of the argument could be made that there's 4 masks, 4 variations to the head sculpt, that you really, in theory, could get 4 figures. Well, I think that's being a little too crazy. The alternative is, though, is if you wanted to use this helmet, this specific mask, I shouldn't have called it a helmet, it would also be a good, strong candidate if you wanted to make like a Lord Humongous from Road Warrior, who has a very similar helmet to this, obviously just painted in like a gray color. So I like this little nod from NECA. This is not something that they could have or necessarily needed to include with the figure, and yet I so appreciate for the fact that they would have included a mask that makes no appearance in the movie and solely makes the appearance on the poster and the corresponding beta and VHS release. I think all the DVD releases, I don't know if we've ever gotten the New Beginning mask here showing in a DVD release. I think it's always been relegated more so to the VHS and the beta releases. I have to throw beta in there because I don't think there's enough love for beta. So there's this mask. I dig that. Nice little nod to the original movie poster. And then chronologically, we just pop this head sculpt off. Jason also has this head sculpt. Now this is at the end of the movie, and giving up any option to spoil the movie for you. This is basically what Jason is. I guess Tommy is seeing this Jason at the very end of the movie. And he's sort of just like leaning over top of him like this. I believe he even has like the axe in his hand. Like that. I think he's almost even holding it like this from what I remember. He's sort of just like leaning over top of him like this. Again, nice little nod. I guess in theory it also could be a nice replacement if you wanted to pull this head sculpt off. You could replace it with this one, as this is now the freshly wounded Jason. Even though the wear on the mask and stuff is not quite accurate, and the chevrons are now completely gone on the sides of its mask, still has that middle chevron happening there. It's not the most Part 4 screen accurate, but still it's an option that you could display him with. Looking at this figure, I don't think Dream Sequence Jason. I kind of more so think Part 4 Jason. I think more than I'd be entertaining the idea of using this mask as my favorite of the four. Again, nice little nod that NECA would include also this one, but I think I'd be more inclined to probably display him with this mask as my favorite of the four. So just for that reason, I'm going to pop this off and we'll replace it with the one I just finished talking about. There we go. And we'll go ahead and take the axe out of his hand. Okay, so we'll move that out of the way. Let's have a look at Jason Voorhees' articulation. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to establish the fact that it's probably the exact same posability as this one right here, and you would be absolutely correct. So the tried and true, ever popular articulation that NECA Toys incorporates to all their figures is now also present here in Dream Sequence Jason. I'm talking away while also showing you the articulation. Wait, did I miss it? No. Head up, angled back and forth on the head, and the head can also rotate. Arms can move out. You can also move them all the way around. He has a bend at the elbow. You can rotate the forearm. You can rotate the hand, and the hand hinges back and forth. Upper torso sort of has a crunch. Waist swivel. Legs split out. Forward and back on the legs. Has a swivel on the top cut of the thigh, which in theory allows you to move the leg this way, and beyond. Bend at the knee. You can also rotate the lower leg. And you can also rotate the feet. Not a whole lot though, but you can still rotate the feet. And there is Dream Sequence Jason. A worthy candidate, I think. I feel as if even if you've picked up this one, and even if you've picked up right there, Part 3, which I just so happen to have packed away right at the minute, I still think there's enough valid reasons to pick up this one, even though we all know it's a precursor to what we're going to be getting with a Part 5 Roy, which NECA currently is working on. And loving my idea so much of using the Billy the Kid casket, I've decided to use it here for final looks. I admit it's not accurately in size, but it's still close enough that you can recreate the scene of Jason sitting up in his casket before pursuing Tommy Jarvis by foot. I really like the Dream Sequence Jason, and I apologize way in advance that I took as long as I did to review the figure. It's just one of those instances where I had to wait for my comic book store to stock it. Story of my life. Still though, it's a nice entry into the ultimate Jason Voorhees family that we've been collecting thus far. I think there's enough valid reasons to pick up this figure if you've already picked up 3 and you've already picked up 4. Even though this is really using the exact same mold, it's still enough bang for your buck that I think it's worth picking up. It's an interesting character because he really doesn't appear in the movie. Before you comment down below, he does appear in the movie, but only appears in Tommy Jarvis's head. So the fact that NECA Toys would go and make use of an existing mold, which we know we've gotten in the past, and just jazzing it up enough, I think it's still nice work on NECA Toys' part. I think if they had simply just taken and given us a slick, wet-looking Jason with a brand new head sculpt and maybe a tombstone, I feel as if the figure may not have been worth picking up. But the benefit of getting this figure is that you're also not getting just one head, but you're getting 4 different alternative heads, including a VHS and poster movie art cover, also included as a mask as well, which is something that, for NECA to do that, That's a nice little nod to Friday the 13th fans. So yes, I do think that there's enough for this figure to worth picking him up, even if you've already picked up the other Jasons before that. This, of course, gets me even more and more excited because this is, I think, the last Ultimate Jason Voorhees figure that we're going to be getting before we get ourselves a Part 5 Roy. Teasing us, NECA is, by giving us a Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning, ... It's not Roy, though. It's Dream Sequence Jason. Well played, NECA. You still, though, gave me a figure that I'm very, very happy to display, even if I'm probably going to display him with an accessory that didn't come included with the figure. Still looks good, I think. Today's video, a long overdue video, I'm sorry for that. Today we were having a look at the NECA Toys Friday the 13th, A New Beginning. This was Dream Sequence Jason Voorhees. If you like this video, why not hit it with a like? And if you certainly want to check out some more Jason Voorhees review from NECA Toys, I've got a whole playlist designated just for that. And while you're at it, why not swing over to the home page, check out the videos section, and see if there's anything you may have missed along the way. With the sheer amount of content that this guy is posting on a regular basis, there's a good chance that you may have missed out something along the way. So check out the home page and check out the videos section, see if there's anything you may have missed. More videos will be coming your way, so as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.